Welcome to another session in this course. We are going to be looking at the create table command and also the drop table commands. It is important for you to note that in order to create a new table in MySQL, there are two approaches. We can use the graphical user interface, which is called the GUI method, or we use the method where we write our query using the create table command. In one of our previous sessions, I have explained how to use the graphical user interface method. You can go to the description section of this video to have access to that particular video. However, in this session, I will be teaching you how to use the create table command to create a new table. When it comes to creating a new table with create table command, there are also two approaches, and I will be explaining those two approaches in this particular session. Towards the end of the session, I will also show you how you can use the drop command to drop your table directly by writing the query. This is a lot to take in, but let us get at it. Let us start with the first one. Now, we want to create a table. We call it the customer record table. So we write create table, this is the command. The name of the table, let's call it customer record. Customer record. You open a parenthesis and we start writing the list of our columns. The first one is the ID. The ID column is going to be a unique identifier of each customer. We say that the data type in this particular column is going to be integer, and then we want not null, that is, we do not want a null value here. Then we want auto increment. So if we add auto increment here, we want this to be our primary key column. And here we are. So here we want auto increment. We want this to be our primary key column. Then the second column is customer name. And then this one, we want it to be a varchar. So it's going to be varchar. We want it to be varchar 45. And then we want it to be also not null. When we put all of this together like this, we are moving forward. The next thing is that we want to put the date of birth. This time around, we say that, okay, this one is a date. So the data type is date. And then we close the parentheses. Now, if we run this, we are going to be having three columns, in which the first one is the ID column, integer and the data type, not null, auto increment, and it's going to be our primary key column. The customer name column, where it's going to be a varchar 45 and not null, and then date of birth. If we run this particular query, it is going to create a new table for us called customer record with this attribute. Let us run it. Now, let us refresh, and you can see that now we have a new table called customer record. If I come down here and I put describe customer record, so if I run this, it is going to show all the attributes. You can see that we have ID column, customer name column, date of birth, and you see that the primary key is the ID column. We have been able to create this particular column. This has a primary key, and each of the primary key has auto increment, and there is not null. Let us create another table. This time around, I have the query written already so that it will save our time in this particular session. Now, we are creating another table called the transactions table. The record ID is an integer primary key that is also not null. Then we have the customer ID, which is also an integer. And then we have the amount column, which is also an integer. State column, which is a varchar 45. However, I want to let you see something here, that in this particular table, we want to put a foreign key because the customer ID here is going to be referencing the ID here. How do we do that? How do we put a foreign key in this place. To do that, what we need to do is that we put foreign key. What is going to be our foreign key? Our foreign key is going to be the customer ID. So the customer ID here is going to be our foreign key. But if it is going to be our foreign key, the next question is, what is it referencing? We put it here that, okay, it references ID column, that is the ID column in the customer record table. We say, okay, it references customer record ID column. And then we close our bracket. When we write our query like this, we are already telling Mysql that create this particular table called the transactions table. These are the columns with their attributes. However, out of this column, the customer ID is a foreign key and it references a table called customer record. And in that customer record, the column it is referencing is the ID column. Let us run these two. This will create a new table also. If we come here and refresh our table, you can see that we now have a transaction table. And if we come there and we describe the transactions table, it is going to give us the attributes of that table. Let's run it. And there we are. Let me show this very well so that you can understand. So you can see that we have the record ID, which is a primary key. We have the customer ID with MUL, showing that this is a foreign key. And that is how this particular method goes. We can use this method or this approach to create our table. And then we will use another command to insert into the table. If we run this particular query on your screen, it is going to return all of the transactions that were done in the month of December. Assuming we want to create a new table, and that table we call it the December transaction, or we call it December. How can we do that? We use the same create table command and we call the name of the table December, and we put as operator in front. We are saying that everything you see in this particular query, all of its outcomes should be put in a new table, and that new table should be called December. If I run this particular query and I come to this panel here, I click on refresh, you see that now we have December table. And if I come to the December table, click on the tool icon, you can see that these are the attributes. So I can say I want the index to be the primary key, then other things that I want, I can do with this particular table. Then I click on apply and apply again, finish. And with that, we have been able to create another table. Now, what if we want to drop the table? Let's say we want to drop the December table. How do we do that? We use the drop command. Drop table. Then we put the name of our table, December. And with that, if we run this particular query, we will discover that December table has been removed from the list of table here. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification icon and like our videos. Until we meet in the next one.